All right, so you're thinking about jumping into cybersecurity. It's a hot field, tons of jobs. But how do you even get started? This deep dive is all about that. Forget the buzzwords and certs for now. We're going straight to the source. This great article, The Top 5 Skills You Need to Break into Cybersecurity. It gets right to what matters.
I like that approach. You see so many people chasing certifications, but they don't have the core skills, the skills that actually make you good at this.
Yeah, it's like trying to build a house on sand. The article lays out 5 key skills. Virtual machines, the command line. System administration, networking. And one you might not expect, your own digital security.
Oh, that last one is critical. You can't be preaching cybersecurity if your own stuff is a mess, right?
Totally. Like a chef who can't even boil water at home. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with virtual machines. VMs, as the cool kids say. Break it down for us.
Think of a VM like a safe space, your cybersecurity playground. You can experiment without breaking anything important. Let's say you want to see how malware works. You wouldn't want to run that on your own computer.
Yeah, bad idea.
Exactly. You spin up a VM, infect it, and watch what happens. No risk to your real system.
So like a mini cybersecurity lab right on your computer.
Precisely. And VMs are easy to get. There's VMware, VirtualBox, Hyper-V, and KVM. Each has its pros and cons, but they all do the job, creating those isolated environments.
I can hear people thinking, okay, that's cool, but how does this get me a job?
Well, having VMs on your resume, it shows initiative. It tells employers you're serious about this, that you're not just reading books, you're actually doing it.
So it's a sign that you're not afraid to get your hands dirty.
Absolutely. More importantly, it shows you understand isolation and containment. Those are key in cybersecurity. Working with VMs, you're building barriers between systems, preventing threats from spreading. That hands-on experience is gold.
It's not just checking a box, it's about understanding. Okay, so we've got our virtual lab. Now let's talk about controlling it. The command line.
Yeah.
Confession time, this one used to scare me. I was all about clicking buttons.
I get it. Lots of people feel that way. They see that black screen with all the text. But once you get over that initial fear, it's like a superpower.
Okay, tell me more about this superpower.
Think about it. With the graphical interface, you're limited. You can only do what they let you do. But with the command line, you're talking directly to the operating system. You have way more control.
So it's like speaking the computer's language.
Yeah.
Instead of using a translator.
Exactly. You can do things with incredible speed and precision. Automate tasks, manipulate data, access things you can't even see through a GUI. And in cybersecurity, that control is everything.
Yeah, I can see that, especially with complex systems. But isn't the command line, like, hard? Where do you even start?
It has a learning curve, for sure. But it's worth it. The key is choosing the right tool. The article mentions Bash, that's big in Linux and macOS, and PowerShell for Windows. Each has its own quirks. Mastering both makes you very versatile.
Like being bilingual in cybersecurity.
Exactly. Just like any language, it takes practice. But there are tons of resources to help you. Sites like Codecademy and Khan Academy have great tutorials.
Those are good for beginners. But what about people who learn by doing? Can you just jump in and experiment with the command line?
Absolutely. Just open a terminal window and start typing. Try basic commands, explore the file system. That's how you get comfortable. There are even challenges and exercises online.
That sounds more fun than reading a book. Okay, so we've got our virtual lab. We're learning the command line. What's next on the essential skills list?
System administration. This is where you really get to know the systems you're protecting. Think of yourself as the architect and defender of a digital fortress.
So it's not just about using computers, it's about understanding them.
Exactly. System administration is all about the details. Operating systems, networks, applications. You need to know how to configure them, maintain them, troubleshoot them, make sure they're running smoothly and securely. Welcome back. Ready to go even deeper on these cybersecurity skills.
Definitely. Let's level up. We talked about VMs as mini labs, but what are some concrete things people can do with them?
Okay, let's say you're curious about Windows versus Linux security. You could set up a VM for each, poke around, see how they handle things like user permissions or firewalls. You start to understand their strengths and weaknesses, and how attackers might target them.
So instead of just reading about it, you're actually getting hands-on with different systems.
Exactly. And here's a fun challenge. Intentionally introduce vulnerabilities. Misconfigure a firewall rule. Leave a service with default credentials, then try to exploit those weaknesses.
So play the bad guy in my own lab. That way I learn how to defend against real attacks.
Exactly. It's like ethical hacking, but in a safe space.
I like it. Okay, back to the command line. We said it's a superpower, but how do you even start learning it? It still feels kind of like a secret code.
There are tons of resources online that make it fun. Sites like Codecademy and Khan Academy have great interactive tutorials.
Those are good for the basics. But what about going further? What are some must-know command line tools for cybersecurity? The ones that make you feel like a real hacker.
Oh, there are so many. But to start, get familiar with grep for searching through files, awk for manipulating data, and nmap for scanning networks.
Those sound powerful. And then once you know the tools, you can combine them, right? Write scripts to automate things.
Exactly. Scripting is where it gets really cool. Imagine going through gigabytes of log files in seconds, finding suspicious activity, even taking action to stop a threat. That's the power of the command line.
Okay, I'm starting to see why you called it a superpower. Let's move on to system administration. Knowing your systems inside and out, how do you actually learn all that? It feels overwhelming.
The best way is to do it. Set up your own home lab, doesn't have to be fancy, a couple old computers, or even VMs if you're short on space. Install different operating systems, server software like Apache or Nginx. Play around, break things, fix them. That's how you really learn.
The article talked about tools like sysinternals. For monitoring and analyzing systems, can you tell us more?
Sysinternals is like X-ray vision for Windows. You can see every process, where it is, what it's doing, how much memory it's using. Tools like Process Explorer and Autoruns are amazing for troubleshooting and security.
So if something's wrong or you suspect malware, these tools help you find the culprit.
Exactly. And for Linux, there are similar tools. HTOP for performance, Cheese for processes, netstat for networks, LSOF for open files. It's amazing how much you can see if you know where to look.
Okay, on to networking. We talked about the TCP/IP and OSI models, but they can still feel abstract. How can we make them more concrete?
The mail analogy is a good start, but let's add some tech details. Imagine sending an email. The application layer is your email client, like Outlook or Gmail. It handles the content and formatting.
Gotcha.
Then the transport layer is like putting your email in an envelope. TCP and UDP work at this layer, making sure your data gets delivered reliably and in order.
So TCP and UDP are like the delivery trucks.
Perfect analogy. TCP is like a reliable service. All packages arrive intact and in order. UDP is more like a postcard. Faster, but no guarantees.
And this is all happening behind the scenes without us even knowing.
Right. And remember Wireshark. It lets you intercept those data packets as they travel, like a wiretap on the internet.
That sounds powerful, but also kind of scary. Like, could someone use that to snoop on ME?
That's why ethical hacking and responsible disclosure are so important. Wireshark can be used for good or bad, like any technology. It's our job to use it ethically.
Well said. Okay, personal digital security. We talked about passwords, password managers, MFA, and encryption.
Yeah.
What are some things people can do right now to improve their security?
Number one, enable multi-factor authentication, MFA, everywhere you can. It's one of the best ways to protect your accounts.
MFA, like a second lock on your door.
Exactly. And not just for bank accounts and social media. Put it on your email, cloud storage, password manager, everything.
Okay, MFA's at the top of my list. What about passwords? I know they're important, but it's hard to remember unique, complex ones for everything.
That's what password managers are for. They generate strong passwords and store them securely.
Like a digital vault for all your passwords?
Precisely. And it's not just convenience. It helps you avoid bad habits like reusing passwords.
Makes sense. What about encryption? The article mentioned GPG. What's that?
GPG is for encrypting emails and files.
Right.
Only the recipient can read the information, even if it's intercepted. It's a bit more technical, but if you're serious about privacy, it's worth learning.
So even if someone steals my data, they can't read it without the key.
Exactly. Like a locked safe, only you have the combination. It's an extra layer of protection that can make a huge difference.
All right. Welcome back to the final part of our cybersecurity skills deep dive. It feels like we've covered a ton already. We talked about the skills, how to develop them, but now the really exciting part. Putting it all together, showing the world what you can do.
It's like we gave you the ingredients. Now you got to bake that cybersecurity cake. Make it look so good everyone wants a slice.
I love that analogy. But seriously, cybersecurity is competitive. How do you stand out? Everyone's got certs and skills on their resume. What makes someone truly irresistible to employers?
That's where the cybersecurity portfolio comes in. It's your highlight reel, not just what you know, but what you can do.
So like the difference between reading about an instrument and hearing someone play it.
Exactly. It's about proof.
Right.
Real projects, examples, contributions that show your passion.
I'm sold on the portfolio idea, but where do you even start? What kind of projects should you focus on?
One that always impresses me is a personal website or blog. dedicated to cybersecurity. It shows technical skills. You built the site. But also, you can share your knowledge, write-ups of projects.
So your own little corner of the internet, all about cybersecurity.
Exactly. It shows communication skills, your enthusiasm. Plus, it's great for networking.
Makes sense. Besides a website or blog, what else goes in a portfolio?
Think back to the skills we've talked about. Have you done any capture the flag CTF competitions?
Oh yeah, CTFs. Those sound fun. And I bet doing well shows you can think under pressure.
For sure. And don't forget about scripting. Any scripts you've written, maybe for automating tasks or analyzing data, contributions to open source security projects, all these show initiative and real skills.
So it's about going beyond just theory, showing you can handle real-world stuff.
Exactly. Your portfolio tells your story. It's always evolving as you learn and grow.
I bet it makes for better interviews, too. Instead of just listing certs, you have something to talk about.
Absolutely. Hiring managers want to see how you think, what makes you unique. A good portfolio does that.
So we've covered skills, how to develop them, and showcasing them in a portfolio. But before we wrap up, one final thought. We talked about what employers want, but what about you?
Ah, that's important. It's easy to get lost in the job hunt and forget about your own goals.
Exactly. So, to everyone listening, as you start your cybersecurity journey, think about what kind of professional you want to be. What problems excite you? What impact do you want to make?
Let those answers guide you. As you build skills, choose projects, and find your path. Remember, cybersecurity is more than a job. It's a calling. It's about making the digital world a safer place.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's a perfect way to end. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into cybersecurity skills. Stay curious, keep learning, and never stop exploring. Who knows, maybe you'll be the expert guiding the next generation.
I can't wait to see what you all achieve.